All right, this session is now being recorded. Thank you all for joining me for the kickoff call tonight. Um, if you can, turn your video on. I don't like to just only see myself and only see names. So thank you for that. I just had a kickoff call with the project management course, and we had an excellent discussion. So I hope that we have the same here. As with the, oh, you can't see my screen now, can you? Give me a second here. All right, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Oh, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So as with the project management course, I'm going to give you a short background on myself, and I'm going to go around my screen to have you all introduce yourself first off, discuss what program you're in, and also discuss what your goals are within this course, as well as what your goals are once you complete the program. Now, I ask that because it is my goal to tie the content to your careers, to your goals, so that it's what we're talking about is applicable, so that you can learn it today and apply it tomorrow. Because whenever I was in your shoes, believe it or not, that was not that long ago. You might think I'm an old man, but I'm really not. You know, those professors that were able to reflect back on their careers and tie the course content to how it's applied to the industry were those professors that I remember. You know, their lectures are the ones that I remember. And and I also will say that I just posted an announcement. I just sent an email of a podcast that I was a part of, that talks about what we're doing within higher education and how we're making the content applicable to roles within the industry. I also have a podcast that I was a guest on, that's going to be released tomorrow on blockchain. I am nuts about blockchain. I'm nuts about technology. We're going to talk about that tonight and how that's applicable to this course. But to give some background on myself, I'm Dr. Justin Golston. I am a professor in project and supply chain management. I am the project and supply chain management coordinator at the Wilkes-Barre campus, and I have my undergraduate degree within supply chain management from North Carolina A&T. I got my master's in supply chain management from the Penn State University, I would like to say. And then I went on to get my doctorate in leadership and organizational change. And once I received my doctoral degree, I did some postdoctoral work at Cornell. So I will say that that blockchain program at Cornell was one of the first blockchain programs in the country where you specialize within higher education on blockchain. So that is kind of where my passion with blockchain, where my passion for blockchain comes from, and I always try to blend that blockchain technology into the supply chain practice. So you'll hear me talk a lot about that. I did 5 TED Talks on blockchain last year. I was supposed to do a TED Talk on artificial intelligence at Salisbury University, close to Ocean City, Maryland. That got pushed to December, and looks like it's going to get pushed again. So I say that because, as I told those within the project management class, is you will have a major right here at Penn State. But I say the differentiator is that you find that particular niche, that thing, because supply chain is broad. Supply chain is huge, right? So my lane my lane was technology, where I was blending that technological discipline with supply chain management, and that's essentially where my career took me, and I stay current within the industry, in terms of talking about how these technologies that everyone's talking about, I'm telling them how they can implement it. So what I mean by that is, find your niche in business, in marketing, in accounting, and create your brand from that. What I'm telling you now is what I tell master students that have been in the industry for 10 years, and they ask me, and I always say that, I teach up where, whenever I'm teaching undergraduate courses, I'm teaching you all what I teach graduate students. What I teach graduate students is what I mentor doctoral students on. So I try to equip you with the tools to be successful once you hit that interview stage. And you're going to learn from me very quickly that I am very candid. I do not sugarcoat anything, and I tell it like it is. And I say that because once you get toward the end of your program, you're getting in the competition. You're getting in the competition with those guys from MIT. You're getting in the competition with those guys from Wharton. You're getting in the competition with those guys from Michigan State. And I call out those programs because if you're in that supply chain discipline, those primary institutions are the ones where those big companies are looking. So for those Deloittes, for those KPMGs, when they're looking for those supply chain consultants that they're paying 80,000, 90,000 out of undergrad, they're coming to Penn State, they're coming to Michigan State, they're going to Wharton, they're going to MIT. So if that is your goal, I am trying to equip you with those tools to be successful once you get to that role. So with that, we're going to go around, starting with you, Ian.
My name is Ian. I'm majoring in supply chain. I guess what I'm kind of looking to get out of it is learning about the production aspect of it. I worked as a production manager for a small little company called Style and Strings, if anybody's familiar with lacrosse.
Oh,
I'm just kind of familiar with it, so I just want to learn a little bit more about it.
all right, perfect. I seen you had a clone. Is that where are you from? Is that New Oxford?
This shirt is just Robert Morris Colonials, but
Oh,
I'm
Robert
actually
Morris. Okay.
I'm from York, PA, actually.
Okay, that's why I said New Oxford. So
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know the area.
All right. Nice to meet you, Sam.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm majoring in supply chain management too, and this is my first supply chain class, so I'm real interested in learning about it, and then hopefully being able to make it more of a smaller goal, like you were saying. Find the specific field in it. Yeah.
And I would say, so to that point, I would say find something that you like, find something that you're passionate about, and interweave it into the discipline. Like I said, I love technology. So I interweave technology within the supply chain discipline. And because there's a big need for ERP consultants, I spent my career in implementing ERP systems. So you need to have that supply chain knowledge, so you know how to apply it to an organization. You need that technical knowledge to configure the system, right? And you need that organizational change leadership competencies to influence the change. Because if you're familiar with ERP systems, you've probably heard that, they're probably 50% failed implementations, but it's not the technology, it's the people, right? If SAP, because you'll hear people say, "Oh, SAP is horrible. SAP is horrible." Well, how's SAP the largest ERP provider in the world, right? There's an underlying problem outside of the technology, so you have to kind of blend those competencies whenever you're finding your specialization within supply chain. Okay, I'll get on my soapbox a lot, but Tyler.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm an international business student at Penn State. And I want to get out of this course to sort of understand how supply chain can be enhanced on an international scale through different countries, different types of countries, different types of people, and how it all comes together in the end.
Right. And so to that point, so we have supply chain as the broader discipline, right? And where we're going with the discipline is that we're getting more specialized, where Harvard, MIT, they're creating specializations within supply chain itself, like supply chain innovation, international supply chain within your discipline, right? Where it's so important, where you need a focus on what international supply chain means to an organization, to a discipline. And just take what we're experiencing right now. International supply chain is so very important in that it has rocked the industry.
Definitely.
Because look back at February. China was shut down. And every single person at Penn State was impacted by the supply chain, because we had such a heavy reliance on Chinese suppliers, on Chinese manufacturers. And now organizations have to make an analysis of their supplier network to say, okay, are we going to continue to rely on these Chinese manufacturers, or are we going to move our supplier network or some of our supplier network to the US? Yes, it's going to be at an increased cost, but what if something like this happens again?
Exactly.
And I always say that this is going to happen again, not at this level, because supply chain disruptions are cyclical, in that this is a black swan. Yes, this is a black swan, but we have hurricanes, we have earthquakes in some parts of the world. We have tsunamis. We have those worker strikes in China, and so we have these disruptions, and this is a lesson. And from an international supply chain perspective, we're going to be talking about this forever, right? And it's been unfortunate, but it's been good for me because it's keeping me busy, and it's bringing more notice, and organizations are realizing the importance of the discipline. Okay, so thank you for that, and you have chosen an excellent
Thank you.
an excellent area, in that you will be able to easily blend the discipline within international supply chain logistics.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, Francis.
Hi, I'm Francis. I am a junior, and I am studying business accounting, and hopefully to minor in IST or something in technology. What I'm looking out of this course is I want to learn more about SCM and all the other aspects of business itself, but I'm trying to see what else I can do with business and accounting, and try to find something that I want to do with my life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mentor a lot of students in their master's thesis. Actually, I'm collaborating. It's a hobby. Yeah, I'm sick like that. But so I'm mentoring one student at Harrisburg University where he's mastering in project management, and that's what he's doing. He's doing his master's thesis in supply chain finance. So supply chain finance is a discipline, and he's blending supply chain management, finance, and project management, and outlining the importance of that. And he's bringing in international logistics because it's important. Because you have to have those considerations. The considerations as to how are we going to handle supply chain transactions on an international scale. As we expand our supply chain networks, as we open plants around the world, how are we handling that from a supply chain perspective? How are we handling the conversion factors and things like that? So it's again, I can go on for days about this stuff. I love it. But again, it's all about taking what you love and blending it to address an organizational need. And I will say that if you even have a shred of interest in supply chain, there's not that many people that have that blend, that mix of finance and supply chain. And you can create a very successful career, because people like me are terrified of finance. I'm operations, and that's my lane. I stay in it. So if you like finance, if you like supply chain, that's something that you can hang your hat on.
Thank you.
Hannah.
Hi, my name is Hannah Gill, and I am majoring in business management and marketing. I am a junior at Penn State Altoona, is currently where I'm enrolled at, and I am very excited to take this web class with you, Dr. Goldston. And the reason why I'm excited to take this course is to gain a better understanding of the flow of production and distribution throughout the different countries and how they collaborate with such times as COVID, and understand that a lot better. I'm excited about that.
Yes. And so I have another marketing major in the project management course, and we touch on that, in that people don't think that supply chain and marketing mix. But I have another podcast coming out where we talk about artificial intelligence, and marketing professionals are using social media, and they're using artificial intelligence to kind of predict, what the demand's going to be for a new product, right? And that's how people like Apple are able to forecast how many iPhones to manufacture, right? So we're going to talk about how supply chain is, one, interdepartmental, and two, what marketing's input is to supply chain management, because that is an often overlooked mix within supply chain management. And I will say, I keep going off on tangents, but it's important. It's applicable. And I will say that I had a graduate student where he was partners with a doctor within another business venture. And because of COVID, and because of the marketing research that he saw, they started a telehealth startup in March. Today, 15 million. They just started in March. So, and that company was spawned from marketing, right? So whenever we talk about this technology, you're going to get sick of me talking about technology, but it's very important. It's here. and it creates a competitive advantage. So we're going to talk about how technology is important from a marketing perspective and how we will translate and communicate that information to an organization's supply chain department. Okay, thank you. Matthew.
All right. Hello, my name is Matthew Nelson. I am a senior at Penn State Wilkes-Barre, and my major is business with a minor in accounting. And for this class, I own my own business, so I feel as if I can learn a lot of stuff about, I want to learn about cost control and the right allocation of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I don't know, I'm excited for the class. And I also don't have a webcam on my desktop, so next class I'll throw on my phone. That way.
Okay. Yeah, you can. There's a perfect example. There is a supply chain shortage of webcams right now. Pop quiz. Why is that?
For class meetings.
There you go. Right? That's supply chain management. Because everyone is working from home, because all institutions across the country have moved remotely, there is an increased demand in webcams, and now we can't find any. Perfect example. Welcome to supply chain management. Any questions? Anything else you want to share before we get through the syllabus? All right. Can you see the syllabus? I know whenever people review the recording, it's going to look very strange. I'm looking off screen, but I'm looking for acknowledgement. All right. So did anyone, I know that Matthew said that he had issues with opening the syllabus. I emailed it. Did anyone have issues with opening that? Okay. So is everyone okay with the text? It is the 11th edition. I know that some of you asked about that. So the biggest thing I want to talk about is that, yes, we do have homework. So as I explained to the project management course, I will be making adjustments. So you see week one within these, and we're gonna get to the course here shortly, but I shut down because this is something I'm doing new because of the current situation and because the supply chain landscape is changing daily, literally. So I'm going to make the content as relevant and as timely as possible. So I'm going to open up these weeks on Saturday or Sunday because I'm going to make adjustments in terms of the discussion boards and things like that. Okay, so that's why you only see 1 week at this time. So we're going to have a number of discussions, and I say that please do not use those discussions as busy work and as simply answering a question and responding to two of your peers. Read everyone's posts because all of you come from different disciplines. And you're going to learn from each other because you each are focused on your specialization. And that's what makes effective leaders. Because to be an effective leader within the organization, you're going to have to understand each department, right? I don't know. I know marketing from a social media perspective. I know marketing from a data analytics perspective. So I am excited to learn from Hannah, right? That's her specialization. She's gonna know more. She's gonna know more than me, right? So that's the way I look at things. I'll learn from people every single class I teach because you have that focus. you know, and you need to demonstrate your knowledge, because you're actually building your leadership competencies, because now you're the subject matter expert in your discipline in this class. That's how you need to look at it. Hannah's a subject matter expert in marketing, right? She does it better than anyone else. I don't think anyone's going to argue that, right? Tyler's going to be a subject matter expert in international business. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. You know, so you have to learn from each other. And again, don't treat those discussion posts as busy work, and use them as you know, a learning opportunity. Another thing I will say is, once you're done with each week on the discussion posts, pull all of those discussion posts down, put them in a Word document, and upload them to Google Drive. Because you can have a free account in Google Drive up until, I think, like 2 gigs or something like that. I could be wrong, but I think I pay $2 a month and I have like 60 gigs. And so data is cheap. And I will say, I say that because I still pull data from my graduate course at Penn State. I graduated in 2014, and I still pull information. You know, so and the way I see it is, you paid for it. You should pull it. You paid for it. You know, and you're going to continue to reflect on that information. So whether you think so at this point or not, you know, you're going to pull from it. I mean, my experience is a perfect example where I'm pulling from stuff that's 6 years old and it's still applicable. You know, so that's just one little nugget, you know, that I could provide, and that it's going to be invaluable. So we're going to have 3 quizzes. We're going to talk a lot about COVID, because it has transformed the way we view supply chain management. And I would say that the highlight. Oh, I got a 3-month-old at the house, so she just woke up. She's not too happy. But I would say that the highlight of the class for me will be this supply chain challenges report, in that I'm going to challenge you to find some new data, you know, to find some developing content in terms of, again, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and how we're going to use artificial intelligence to make a positive impact on the world, right? Because these technologies are going to shape the world. I will say that I am happy to announce that we are actually going to hold a TED Talk at the Wilkes-Barre campus, and there is a team of students from Maine. Well, they don't want to say Maine. From University Park, I will say that they developed an artificial intelligence application to fight illiteracy in Africa, right? So they're making a positive impact on social change. They're making a positive impact on the world. So I want you to, for this report, I want you to find something that is developing to kind of be a futurist, you know, to say, I think that organizations are going to use artificial intelligence, are going to use machine learning, you know, to reduce waste in the healthcare supply chain, right? We're going to use artificial intelligence to predict tsunamis in Singapore. So it's going to mitigate the risk of supply chain disruptions, right? Things like that. I keep referring to technology because that's my lane. You don't have to use technology, you know. And another thing, and another topic that I'm going to just talk a lot about is corporate social responsibility. where we are looking at sustainable practices, at environmental practices of organizations. We're looking at how organizations can include diversity and inclusion to create a competitive advantage for an organization, right? So it's referred to as a triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, to create a competitive advantage. I just did another podcast today where we talked about diversity and inclusion. We talked about some topics that I have to review it to see if I can post it on here, okay? But it needed to be discussed because that's what we're talking about right now. But that's where that corporate social responsibility comes into play. And people, as you all get older, this is going to shift the way that organizations do business, because there was just a study that came out last year that said like 89% of consumers will switch products to an organization that has sustainable practices or that promotes diversity and inclusion, that is validated. Because a lot of organizations are giving lip service to say, oh, we promote diversity and inclusion. Well, let me see it. I can't tell. I can't tell. And it's something that we talk about. So from a sustainability perspective, there is a practice known as greenwashing, where you're going to promote environmentally safe practices, but you get caught. And there was one notable study out there where Volkswagen, they said that they created a clean burning diesel engine, and on a whim, West Virginia validated, or just wanted to test how well these engines help the environment. But what they found is they were actually more harmful than normal engines. And Volkswagen had to pay billions, because of this false publicity. Actually, there's a Netflix. If you search Netflix, it's like an hour documentary on it. So this greenwashing is a big deal, and I think that there's not a name for it, but there's going to be things that emerge where organizations are going to greenwash from our diversity and inclusion perspective, because companies are putting minorities in chief diversity officer positions, but they're not doing anything. They're just putting a face in the position and say, "Oh, we have a CDO. What are you doing? We have a CDO." So that's what we're talking about. But people don't talk about it, but we have to talk about it here, because you all are going to be the leaders that makes those decisions. You all are going to be the leaders that makes that change, right? And you have to be passionate about it. You have to walk the talk. And it's applicable to supply chain management, because there is study after study that says organizations with a diverse workforce beats their competition by double digits year after year. It's proven, So and it's the same thing from a supply chain management perspective. If you and whenever we talk about diversity and inclusion, we think about race. No, it's bigger than that. Whenever we talk about supplier diversity programs, right? We're talking about women-owned businesses. We're talking about veteran-owned businesses. We're talking about organizations that are underrepresented, like in South Africa and places like that. right? It goes beyond race. And that is how that whole discussion is applicable to supply chain management. Okay. So that supply chain challenges report, that is going to be one thing that's going to be, it's going to be transferable in that may be a foundational study that you can build upon. That may be a study that you can go into an interview and say, this is a research that I've done. Nobody's doing this. You can read this study and I can bring this to your organization and I can implement it. And I pulled in that report because that's what I do with my master's program. So in the Capstone Supply Chain Management program, we create all we do for 8 weeks, all we do is prepare for a presentation for 8 weeks. So for these master students, they have to work with their organization to identify a supply chain problem. And at the end of 8 weeks, they present it. And they also present it to their organization. And the outcome of that is that I've had countless people get promoted. I've had countless people receive bonuses. I've had countless projects and proposals get implemented by the organization. So it's a win-win. And it's a good sign off to the program at the graduate level. And this paper can be similar. And this class is small. This class is small enough where you can turn it into a PowerPoint, where you can make it applicable to an organization that you're working with. You know, it's like with the lacrosse company. You know, you can make something. I think sustainability would be huge for that lacrosse company, right? So it could be something that you could present to to that organization. And now it's obvious they got to hire you full time. It's obvious. So, you know, I get passionate about this stuff, and you'll see that because I love it, and I know that it can positively impact people around the world. I've seen it. You know, so that's something I take very seriously, and that's a report. That's a project that's gonna be very fun. Any questions on that project? Okay. So here's a grading rubric. And again, from a grading perspective, I will tell you all, like I tell everybody, if you get the work done, you're not going to have a problem out of me. If you continue to make excuses, we're going to have a problem. If you don't communicate and you try to, you know, reach out to me within the last week of the class trying to make up work, no, not happening. Okay. Now I know that life happens. I get it. It's as simple as spending 2 minutes to send out an email and say, I may be a few days late on this submission. No problem. No problem. Right? So I ask that you communicate if something arises. If something arises with work, I have a project where I have a tight deadline. Okay, I'll give you 3 days. If you need more, let me know. Simple as that. You know, so and it comes down to the communication, because I try to build those competencies that you're going to have once you go into the real world. Okay. So again, you know, if you think that you need some more time on an assignment, let me know. I mean, as it comes to this final assignment, because it's so tight to the end of the term, we may have a problem on that one. But, you know, for your weekly discussion posts, quizzes, things like that, just reach out to me and let me know. We'll have no problem. Okay. So class attendance policy. So in terms of attendance, this class was, I want to get your input. This class was initially planned to be asynchronous, so you're pretty much working at your own pace. Would you find value in just simply holding a 30-minute discussion lecture, same time, 8 o'clock, from 8 to 8:30, every week. I have no problem with that. I love talking about this stuff. If you haven't seen yet.
I'd be good with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be to value for us. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, because
Yeah, I think that would be really good.
okay.
Yeah, that's definitely good.
I mean, we plan for 30 minutes. If it goes 45 to an hour, it does. And given that, I mean, and again, it's completely optional, because this is an asynchronous course, and because I want you all to learn and take something out of it, and learn from my experiences, I have no problem with doing that. So at the conclusion of this call, I'll set up weekly Zoom meetings. So they'll be within the course, and then on each Sunday I'll send out an email. And another thing, each time you go into the course, just take a quick look, a quick click, and just click on the announcements. See if something's in there, because I will post them. So again, I posted this announcement of that podcast that I sent out, because that's where it's a podcast where I talk about what we're doing in the supply chain discipline in terms of higher education, and how COVID has pretty much changed the landscape of supply chain education. It's a longer one. It's almost an hour discussion, but it's very meaningful. If I know some of you are in the supply chain major, so I would listen to that one, okay? Because we talk about what employers are telling me they want. We talk about certification in the supply chain discipline. We talk about what I'm creating for a university in Germany, right? Because I'm collaborating with a lot of institutions in supply chain, and that again, it spawned from COVID. And people think I know what I'm talking about, so they reach out. Okay, so listen to that podcast, and also there's a free sign up for one of the largest conferences in the world. It's based in Singapore. I'm delivering a keynote for that one. And again, we are looking, and I'm passionate about getting diversity within the supply chain discipline. And this conference is something that's very important to me, because it's focused on getting females within the supply chain discipline. So look out for that one. And again, there's going to be a blockchain podcast that's going to be released tomorrow. I'm going to post it here. And another thing is that I'll post it on the announcements, and I'll also send an email, because as I told the other class, I know I was a student too, and I rarely look at the announcements, but I looked at my emails, right? But on the flip side, if I get a bunch of emails from 5 or 6 courses, I may miss something. Okay, I'll put it that way. But then I'll check a quick look at the announcements. So I'm gonna get you one way or another. So you might get duplicate messages. Okay, so I apologize beforehand, but you're gonna get it. Okay. So again, class attendance. So we have consensus on that, and if you can't make it, the recording will be within the. So another thing is, when you go in a course and you click Zoom, all those classes will be laid out here where you can access them. And then once we conclude this call, then you click Cloud Recordings, then this recording will be here. Okay, so for each course, they'll be uploaded on Cloud Recordings. And also, if you're on the sessions, please just double check to say, Dr. J, are you recording? I do forget. Okay, I appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna do this each Monday. We're gonna plan for 30 minutes. I talk a lot, so it might go over 30 minutes. You can drop if you want to. Again, it's not mandatory. It's just to educate you. It's just to provide you knowledge as to how each week is applicable to the industry. That's all. Okay, 15 minutes. So really quick, got 15 minutes here. As for the course outline, This week, we're going to provide an overview of supply chain management. There is a overview of from Arizona State from YouTube, but then I'll provide an overview of supply chain management in the video that I recorded in the past, where we talk about the components of supply chain management. I do briefly discuss the beer game. So the beer game is a simulation that was created by MIT. That is so if you go on YouTube and you type in the beer game, you can provide some additional insight on the beer game, because the beer game kind of it demonstrates the bullwhip effect. So very quickly with the bullwhip effect, it's exactly what we experienced with the pandemic, where we had a shortage of toilet paper, right? And because we had a shortage of toilet paper, all of the Walmarts, all the grocery stores, increased their purchasing quantities of toilet tissue. So that essentially made the distributors increase their demand of toilet tissue to Procter & Gamble, right, and Kimberly-Clark. So now Procter & Gamble and Kimberly-Clark have to increase their production, right? And now, because they increased their production because of the demand, now all the paper pulp suppliers have to cut down more trees, hypothetically. I don't know how to make it. Hypothetically, work with me here, okay? So now you have all of this increased demand. And now that we have all this increased demand, and now we're currently at a point now that our supply chains are now filled back up, but that demand from a systematic perspective is still there. So now Kimberly-Clark is still producing the heck out of toilet paper, right? But now nobody wants it. So now the demand's gonna go down, right? And now that demand has gone down, now Kimberly-Clark decreases their production quantity. They decrease their workforce. And now that the Walmarts and grocery stores toilet paper supplies have dwindled, then they say, "Oh, we need more toilet paper." Bounce it back up. Now Kimberly-Clark says, "Holy crap, where did this come from?" Now they go back and increase their demand, and it just goes like this all day long. That's the bullwhip effect. You have those peaks and valleys, and that's what the bullwhip effect demonstrates. And the importance of any supply chain is what I just talked about in this class, that collaboration and communication is key. And that is what it sounds very simple, correct? But very few organizations do it because they don't trust their suppliers. And that's one thing we're going to talk about throughout this entire course. So again, I briefly touched on the bullwhip effect in the beer game in this short lecture. But if you type in the beer game in YouTube, it's one of my favorite simulations to kind of demonstrate that. So also within lesson 1, I have a video up here about the supply chain strategy and the building blocks of supply chain management. So review that. And then within the discussion this week, if I can find it. So within the discussion this week, there's another video. I like videos because so you'll see me do a lot of videos because everyone learns differently. But I think that the consensus is that people will retain videos more than reading a book, right? And if they can relate to it, to the content, they'll remember it. They'll be able to relate to it. And this video here on the discussion board that you have to review is one that I did at Georgetown, where we talked about the pandemic and how it's affecting supply chains. I talk a lot about Amazon, because Amazon saved the world. Amazon saved the world in March. I had Amazon showing up at my house every single day for like a month straight. right? So we talk about that. We talk about the importance of supply chain management. One of my peers, James Jacoby, he made an excellent point where he said, supply chain management was previously seen as an expense, but now it's seen as a competitive advantage. And the perfect Amazon is the perfect example where, Amazon started out selling books. They sold books, and they used supply chain management to be one of the largest organizations in the world. Supply chain management and technology to be the largest organization in the world. So that's why I say that, the supply chain management discipline is so important. And, you can take your discipline and you can blend it within this discipline and create a very successful career. You can create a career that will make a positive impact on people's lives. So it's something that it's a discipline that I am very passionate about. You're going to hear me say that 50 times in each discussion, because it's very important, and that, you have to understand how to demonstrate the importance. You have to understand how you can tie what you're passionate about. So I'll say that by the end of this class, I'm going to ask you that question. What's your passion? What makes you excited? What makes you passionate? I want you to think about that. Because that is what is going to be your driving force once you leave Penn State. Right? I think, and again, I am very transparent with students in that degree is nothing but a piece of paper. You have to demonstrate your knowledge of what you learned to get that piece of paper. And you have to be passionate about, what you're going to do within your careers. Okay. So again, I just asked you to find your passion. I will say, when I was an undergraduate, I couldn't answer that question. If somebody asked me what my passion was, I couldn't answer that question. I say, I'm getting this degree to make some money. But I went into higher education to teach people from my mistakes, to teach people how they can make a positive impact, on their communities, on their families, on the world. Right? Because you have to have that mindset. I'm changing the world, man. I'm changing the world. And my mindset is I'm changing the world through education. I'm impacting people. I am mentoring people that are smarter than me, right? To think about what demographic, what population, what part of the world they want to positively impact. Okay, so think about that. So as we wrap up, and we'll go through the rest of this syllabus as of week for week. So we'll talk about the dimensions of supply chains in week 2. So we're going to hit on that international supply chain perspective for Tyler there. We're going to get his insights on some things. We're going to talk about the role of logistics. So how are we going to get the product from point A to point B? How do we get those iPhones from China to my Verizon store across the street, right? So we're going to talk about those logistics. Distribution and omni-channel networks. That's where we talk about that e-commerce piece. That's when we talk about the Amazons. That's when we talk about the Walmarts, and things like that, and how that's pretty much transformed, retail. How it shut down those local businesses that we seen as growing up that are no longer there. Walmart and Amazon has run those small companies out of business. And let's face it, that's the reality of things. So then we'll have our exam that we're going to review chapters 1 through 4. Again, we're going to have a discussion like this to prepare you for that exam for that week. And then on the week of the 28th, we're going to talk about sourcing materials. So how we purchase materials, how do we get materials from China, to the U.S., and how the pandemic and supply chain disruptions have changed the way of sourcing those materials. Okay, so again, that's going to be very applicable to what we're experiencing right now. And then we're going to talk about demand management and order management. So how are we able to predict what customers are going to buy, right? So that goes into Hannah's discipline of what is marketing's impact on order management? What is marketing's impact on demand management? How are we going to build in that marketing to forecast what we think customers are going to buy? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about in that week. Then the week of October 12th, we're going to have our exam. Again, that Monday, we're going to have an overview of the class. And then the 19th, we're going to talk about managing inventory. And inventory is essentially the bulk of an organization's tie up in capital. I mean, an organization can carry, imagine how much inventory Amazon carries. Millions. So that's what we're going to talk about. Also, we're going to talk about the transportation. So we're going to go back into that transportation aspect. And then we're going to go through exam 3, have an overview, and then we're going to wrap up and with that project, with the big project I'm excited about. Okay. So as we wrap up, any questions on that? All right. So thank you for attending tonight's session. I think that this does transfer over to that. I think it does transfer over to that recording section within the Zoom area right here. So once I stop the recording, I believe it goes over to the cloud recordings section here. So if you want to review it at a later time, it will be there. Okay. All right. Thank you for attending tonight's session, and we'll see you next Monday at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Have a great week.
Have a good night, Professor.
All right. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.